Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk about something today that affects many at a certain age. Maybe it's affected you and you're not even aware of it. And this term, we're going to start with this term. I don't even know if this term is still acceptable in describing this, but I heard this term always when I was growing up, had a vision of it. You always see it on TV, stereotypes. I'm talking about midlife crisis. What is that? What age does that take place? What's going on there? Is it really a crisis? These are questions I wonder about. This is what kept me out of the good schools. Anyway, she's here. She's an amazing life coach and counselor, works with individuals, couples on self-improvement, guiding you in all different ways, even your health holistically. Dawn Manderfeld is back with us. How are you doing today?
You know, it has been a good morning so far. So yeah, it's going well. The holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. Holidays were quiet so far, but they will be picking up soon.
Yep, you got some busy stuff. Your holiday weekend is the weekend after the holidays. Yep. Lots going on there. The midlife crisis, define it. How would you define it?
Midlife crisis is defined as a time in your life that you do a very deep self-reflection, and you're usually kind of questioning where your life is going. Is it where you want it to be? How can you change it? And for a lot of people, they say midlife crisis can be 45 and 64, believe it or not.
Okay.
I have dealt with some people that it's been actually in their late 30s that all of a sudden one day it just kind of hit them. And when I ask them, it's like, why do you think you're in midlife crisis? And they're like, all of a sudden I feel depressed about things. I have anxiety. I have remorse on certain things that I did because I thought it was right, but now I'm not so sure that they are right. And I just want to make a big change in my life. So that just basically kind of puts down what a midlife crisis is, according to the definition of it.
Well said. Well said. Lots of thoughts I have here. Midlife crisis. I don't think we should call it a crisis anymore. It's a midlife evaluation.
Yeah.
You're reevaluating your life. Growing up, you would always hear it, see it on TV, sitcoms, whatever, where, the man buys a Corvette, and that kind of stuff.
It's always a Corvette.
Yeah. Right. But it's much more than that. And actually the damn good thing, I think, the midlife evaluation, unless it's serendipity, it's bliss, and everything's just roses, lollipops, and rainbows. And you have not a care in the world. You don't even think about this deeper stuff. Good for you. I don't even know if that's possible, but I'm not there, so I can't help you. I think it's a good, we're here for a certain amount of time. What are we doing with that time? The relationships we're in, are they supporting us? Our, life purpose. Have we nailed our life purpose? The midlife thing, there's a lot going on there, isn't there?
There is. And I think, for me, what I have found out is that a lot of it has to do with our maturity levels. As we age and as we grow, our maturity levels do change.
I agree.
Our values change. We want to feel more accomplished. Sometimes when we're young in our 20s and man, we're on fire and we're going to be millionaires before we're 35. We're going to, get married and we're going to have this house with the white picket fence. A lot of it is just a mentality of our thinking of what an expectation is. And then when real life happens and we're actually having to live it, things do change. Our thought process, well, like I said, our maturity, a huge part of it, I think, is our maturity. And as we go through different changes in our workforce and different relationships, and our relationships change, and all of a sudden we become parents, and that's a big change. And your finances, your thought, everything has to change towards that. And or by that time you've been in a relationship so long, you wonder what it'd be like to be in another relationship Could I be in a better place? Could I be happier? Is the grass really greener on the other side? Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of thoughts going on here. The maturity thing, I'm completely on your page with that. I don't think it's just maturity, though.
No.
I think it's confidence. And with that comes maturity. So you may be not a confident person. Let's face it. You're 20 years old. There are some, got all the confidence in the world. I'm going for it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move here. I don't care. I'm going. I'm doing it. Not many of us are like that at 20. We're just barely getting out of the nest. So we haven't experienced a lot. So as time goes on, I think your confidence grows. You get more mature because of that. And that gives you a different way to look at things and life in general. And yeah, certainly the idyllic picture of the big house and the, 2 kids, 2 cats, as that Crosby, Stills and Nash Sean go, our house is a wonderful house. 2 cats on the hill. It's a facade. It's a facade. Some have that white picket fence, all of that, and good for them. But many times it's not. You attain this because you think you should, and that shows status, but it could be very much empty. It could be very much empty.
Yeah. Like, I think a recent experience I had is a gentleman came in and he was his next birthday, he's going to be 40. Okay. So he came in, he said he just woke up one day and just realized he didn't realize how hard it was going to be a dad of 3, to really be a good husband, to have a good job. And like you said, to keep the status that they have is just consuming him.
There you go.
And he said, I just want it to naturally happen, is, the words that I put into it. And he said, it is a lot of work. So now I have set the stature for expectations that my kids expect of me, what my wife expects of me. Mm-hmm. And it's literally draining me. And I don't know if I can keep it up.
Yeah. He's smart.
That is a midlife change. And he's trying to figure out how to reevaluate it to keep things going. I mean, he doesn't want out of his marriage. He loves his kids. He loves his wife. But now he's trying to figure out that time is more valuable at home and having more time for his family than to keep putting it into overtime, working harder so they can have more stuff and more stuff. Like he said, they have a lot of materialistic things. But now the expectation is he has to keep up the finances to keep gas in the boat, gas in the camper, gas in the snowmobiles, he's got to keep all this up. And he's realizing that as he's getting older, it's not so easy. And it's kind of, there's not as much joy there, as he really thought there would be at his point, because he's literally crossed off his boxes as far as where he wants his status to be.
He raised the bar for himself and his family.
Very early on. And he feels that they expect it. Maybe they don't. They don't. But if he's feeling it, he's probably right. That's how I ride. If you're thinking it, they probably do expect it, whether they say it or not. And I can relate to this in a lot of ways, where his kids probably don't, I don't know their age, but they probably don't say thank you all the time. Yeah, well, the oldest one is 16.
Oh, but then they should be. And and without going into detail, the shift in my life I get what he's saying. And now with that shift and those things actually gone because of the shift in life, my kids say thank you for a glass of water continually, nonstop, and mean it. So it's, he raised the bar thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. I want to give them all. I want to give them everything. But maybe he didn't need to, but moot point at this point, he just, that's because that's what we're raised to believe.
Yeah.
Or, all right, let me ask you. All right, we don't know who he is, but just something popped in my head. What was his childhood like?
He did not have much.
And there you go.
Yep. And I'll be honest, I probably have more people when it comes to men that I work with that come from nothing and want to change that, not just for themselves, but for their family to have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually crash between their late 30s and late 40s because of there's a lot of work in maintaining that, especially if you don't have a job where you make 150,000, 250,000 a year or more. And as the economy changes, it's going to get harder. It doesn't get easier. But a lot of it that I'm learning is the materialistic stuff starts stressing people out.
But it's not all that. You think you have the snowmobile. Yeah, would it be great? Of course. Of course. Would it be great to have that big boat? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? But with that comes responsibility and work. It's nice to say.
When you work a lot, you can't take the boat out all the time.
Right.
Because that was one of the other issues is that, they want to go out 3 or 4 times a week after work. Well, after work, he's done, And so, there's just,
Mm-hmm. My father had a boat and did have a great relationship with him because of divorce. But that was the thing we did. And that was after he passed, I realized, wow, that's me. Like, I love the water. I would love to have a boat. There were many years I would say, I'm going to get a boat. I want a boat. Wave runner at the very least. Never did it. Never did it. Why? You just answered it. No time. Like, when am I going to do that? When even, carving out a couple hours a week, it was like, well, yeah, if you got to trailer it, got to get down to the dock. If you have a slip, oh my God, what are you paying for that? Around here, it's a lot of money. So It just didn't make sense. Am I happy about it? Kind of in a way that I resisted it. I kept pushing it back. But many times when you have it, those things, it's not all that. Like you think it's, this is it. And then you have it and it's like, no, maybe not. Interesting.
Well, women go through midlife crisis too. And that doesn't always get brought up a lot.
Yeah.
Just because sometimes theirs isn't. I think the idea behind a woman is that we do work, we do raise kids. Granted, men help too. I know a lot of great relationships where their teamwork is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But your body's changing. So you're going through, trying to be a mom, trying to work, your body's changing. And there's not a whole lot of confidence in those early 20s to early 30s. And all of a sudden your kids get older, they get out of diapers, and you're like ready for life and you're out of your crisis. And that's a lot of times when the men starts the crisis, is when as a lady, you've got all your kids out of diapers. You are still working, but you have them on a regimen now, and it's just easier. So ours kind of, I believe, comes at a little bit earlier of a stage where it's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to keep going? And then the men's just kind of comes a little bit later as their process changes. We use different parts of the brain. And so different things are going to trigger a male from a female. But I agree. Confidence has got a huge part to do with having a so-called midlife change,
Yep.
It just really does. I mean, some men have a hard time when they have young kids. They want their wife's attention still, like they got before when there was no children in the home. And it's a little more difficult, And then so when you get through that stage, the wife has more time to just sit with you, be with you, give you more time because the kids are older. Well, then you're working harder or you're working more. And so now you want it, but now you're the one that's trying to figure out how to find the time.
100%.
A relationship is just a lot of work. It just really is.
It is. And if you don't have that understanding, like in your example, and I know many have been and are in this situation where the wife says, he doesn't give me, all he does is work. He doesn't give me any attention, blah, blah, blah. So what does she do? Usually, find somebody else, cheat, whatever it might be. And he's working his butt off. And she doesn't see that. She doesn't, and he doesn't see it either. I get that. But he's been programmed to continue to work, to provide for his family, because that's, have been bred to be the providers, do the work, as they say. And really, that's, that is a term. Men do the work. and that's the work. But she might not be seeing that. And then she just got, then they get distant. Now they're on their own schedules. And then, there comes, the foundation of the relationship starts crumbling. I have another friend, really good friend. And he's been with somebody for 8 years. And they only see each other on the weekend because she lives a while, like an hour away, 40, 50 minutes away. And she recently said, there's no time for me. He's like, I'm working nonstop. I find the time for you. And they had a nice rhythm every weekend, but really it comes down to a day and a half. But then she's busy, he's off, later in the week because he front loads his schedule. And then they're having trouble right now, challenges with that. I guess you reevaluate, what's important at some point. But you gotta talk about it though. Many don't. Is it all right if I buy a sports car? I'm kidding. I will be honest with you. I'm due for a car. I'm due for a new car.
I'm one of those that said, honey, if it's not going to affect our future, I don't care. Go ahead. Yeah. It'll probably last a couple months and then it'll be sold anyway. And the only reason why I say that is because that happened to me last year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But going to that relationship of your friends, I've been married now a little over a year, and our whole relationship for 6 years was only on weekends. He has family that lives down here. He'd bring his mom down. And so we only saw each other on weekends. And at that point, he was 2.5 hours away from me. And we just saw each other a day and a half on the weekends. Wow. That's when we saw each other. Now that we're married at our age, that's retirement. He's working hard for what he's doing, and we still see each other on the weekends. He's now been able to make it so that he's home usually on Thursdays, but that's still how our relationship is going. So it is workable, but it takes two, and it definitely is teamwork, but it's worth it for us. It's worth it for us to do this now, to not, to be able to be together later at maybe an earlier age than a lot of other people.
And you know it though, inside, this is okay.
Yep. You have to kind of come to grips with that, but then you also kind of have to, I believe you have to make a decision on where this relationship's going to go to. When he finally said, I want us together forever, it does change a woman's mindset. And it changed his when the words came out. So you have to come to a point where you have to figure out where are we going with this? Mm-hmm. And really, how do we want this to end? Do we want this to be a forever? Or are we just going to keep playing this?
Yep. You need to do that soul searching. I did it, in the past year. I was with somebody for a couple of years. 3 times a week we would get together. Lived 12 minutes away. Her kid, same age as mine, exact same age. It doesn't get any better, right? Met her kids, wonderful, all good, great relationship. Same with mine, except for one thing. She didn't want our kids to meet. Didn't give me a reason. Waited a few months, asked again. Didn't give me a reason. Right there, it was like, okay, we're not, the future, gone. Don't see future anymore. That's it. Okay. But you know what? I knew it in my gut. I knew it. But yeah, it was good while it was. But that was the wake up call. You have to look for the signs, and apparently you didn't see any signs of this is not going to continue. So is he still lives a distance from you to continue what he's doing work wise?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm going to share that with my friends. I am. I think that's amazing. And then he's even said he's part of an organization, won't even get into the detail. But sometimes they have events, like dinners together that he's part of the planning of it. Very rare, but whatever.
Yep.
And then he would even invite her. Well, come to the dinner then. That's one more time that we can get together. It's all the husbands and wives, boyfriend, girlfriend, they're all here. And a couple times she said no. He's like, what more can I do? I'm trying to make the time to include you in this little piece of my life.
And that's what it is with us too. He has different things that he's in charge of that he has to do for the company that he's up in. Mm-hmm. And so he'll say, hey, hon, I know you work early, but we have this dinner. I would really love for you to come. Can you come and be there with me? So
Sure.
I have my special person with me too. Okay. So, you just, if it's worth it to you, you'll work it out.
Yes.
There's a lot of strength in that sentence right there.
1,000,000,000%.
You will make it, it'll work. Yes. Sometimes there's some issues where you have to say no, but a lot of times as your life is changing around where you're going for your future, there can be some little tweaks here and there that can just really add an extra spark or an extra I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And you are worth my time tonight.
Final thought on all of this. We talk about the maturity level when you're younger, the confidence and all of that. I believe one thing definitely peaks or increases your intuition and gut feeling. When you're younger, you're kind of just not even thinking that. There could have been a sign there. You're like, man, whatever, that's okay, all good. I'm in love, it's great. When you get older, like you're saying now, when you know. Like for me, right away, I already know. Like even the situation I gave you, I already knew even before that. But I was like, let me ride this. Let me ride this wave in here and see where the wave's going to take me. Am I going to land on the beach and it's going to be wonderful, or am I still going to be in the water? And then I got, that was the beginning of the answers. But but when you're younger, you don't really know. It sounds like like, yeah, this makes sense to me, and this is right. This is right.
But I've been through the loss, as you know. I've been a widow. I've been divorced. It really is interesting what things you just don't want to bring with you, and what things you realize you just don't want to carry to another relationship. And you do. It is a confidence and a maturity level.
Yeah.
And just like with a midlife crisis, it doesn't have to always be a crisis, but unfortunately, it's only the ones that are a crisis that are shared.
Right.
And it really does have a lot to do of where you've taken your life to where your first goals and dreams were, and where they are literally in the middle of your life. Are you still on your dreams and goals of where you want to be at this age? And they are real, and they are happen. And the sad thing is, a lot of marriages and a lot of relationships and a lot of things could be saved if people were just more confident with talking about them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Talking about them with someone.
Without fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, this is what I'm going through. Is this weird for me? Am I okay doing this? Am I having a breakdown? I mean, it's a really big deal for some people. But there again, people are so afraid to talk about things. They're so afraid of having conversation. And I just hope everybody has at least one person. And if not, find a life coach. Find a life coach that isn't judging, that just listens and just really finds out who you are as a person, can really help navigate you through that time where it could be such a short-lived period of time. When you realize your values are okay, where you're at, so really you should be proud of yourself. It really is a lot of words. Words are just so important.
I think we forget when it comes to even talking to a life coach that just saying the words, you could just be a bot standing there and shaking your head. I'm just saying, but you're not. You offer so much insight. We did a whole half hour on midlife. I didn't think we would. But just being able to express it, why people keep a journal or should, because you're expressing yourself. You're putting it out there. If you keep it in here, it's stuck and it just keeps bouncing around and sometimes gets worse. Well, I love your website. And it says everything right here. Your practice is called Living Beautifully Broken. Your website is livingbb.org.
Yep.
Good conversation today. I didn't even know where we were going to go with this.
Well, we usually end where we could start up next time on part 2 and 3 on a few things. So it's all good.
For sure. I don't know if we close the door on this one or what.
We'll know in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll feel it.
And go, I could have asked that. Oh, I should have said this.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you so much for today. Happy holidays. Enjoy your weekend that's coming up.
Yes. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same to you. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.